We start with me sitting at the far corner of a bar called the Happy Harpy, corner 11th Avenue, near the old Penn rail yards. There's this character, Big Abe Grabowski, better known as Bookie Abe, even better known as B-Abe, the Babe, to whom I owe more than a few potatoes after a streak of bad judgment with the horses. And while he's been patient, times are tight, and he's got a street cred to consider. Rather than hang in my dinky single-room nest, waiting for a knock on the door if Babe's crew bothered knocking, I prefer a public place with a 180 view and a side door close by. Past the men's room, through the kitchen. Should the Bays boys poke their snoots in here, all they'll see is the heel dust I kick up. It's Tuesday, happy hour, all night. I nurse my house whiskey, a nameless knockoff of Old Crow, barely a step up from the coffin varnish the place down the block sells. From time to time, add a little water so when Gracie the bartender looks my way, she'll see I'm still working on it. It also makes the faux crow almost palatable, although by now the stuff's so watered down it's practically clear. To make doubly sure I don't catch her eye, I stare at the Times crossword in my hand, occasionally inserting whatever letters come to mind, since I can't be bothered working it out, the clues, as I'm too busy figuring out how to get enough scratch to bring down my debt and avoid a trip to the emergency room. Now, Gracie is 6 feet tall and then some, thick built, all muscle. When Grace behind the bar, the place don't need no one else. If not for her weekend wrestling gigs, the Harpy wouldn't even need a bouncer then either. Now, even for a Tuesday night, the dive looks pretty empty. One couple's having a little private petting party down the bar, and Gracie would have long ago told them the bank was closed if there'd been any citizens there who cared. The only other patrons who stayed more than half an hour are these 4 young birds at a table across from me near the wall, out-of-towners, who look to be ignoring each other, playing with their tablets, except I slid my eyes in a direction long enough to see they're playing some computer game, which accounts for the excited yelp here, sorrowful groan there. On the off chance actual gambling involved, Gracie throws him an occasional side eye. But if any dough is being exchanged, it's very much on the QT. Each time the door opens, which is hardly ever that night, I raise the crossword over my face, give the newcomer a once-over. I've been perched on my stool a couple of hours when this skinny character walks in, dragging his feet, dressed real spiffy, looking young enough, despite his pencil stash, or maybe because of it, that Gracie asks for proof of age, though strictly formality since she usually just barely glances at the ID, and this night is no exception. He drapes his puffy down coat on a hook by the bar stool 2 seats away and caddy corner from me, points a bottle to higher class giggle water that I'm nursing, and disappears to John. I hear the front door open again. My paper crumples slightly under tense fingers. A middle-aged Jane peers inside, shakes her head, and vanishes. Gracie shrugs, fills a glass, sets on a newcomer's spot, even using a clean coaster instead of a retread. She no longer looks at my drink. The new guy comes back, nods his thanks, lays the jacks on the bar, downs half the whiskey in a gulp. Then he slumps down the stool and undoes his red and black tie, which he leaves hanging loose around his neck, like a dead, or at least very sick, snake. A laminated tag with the logo of the computer tech show a few blocks away dangles from his suit pocket. His poor little bunny expression tells me his day's gone south. Now I see an opportunity to earn some points with Gracie without dropping more Mazuma on the bar myself, which is a good thing, as I've got a couple bob left in my worn-out wallet. A citizen who puts away the sauce as quickly as he did could become a liability, even on a slow weeknight. Actually, especially on a slow weeknight, where his drunkenness would stand out. But if I pull him into a friendly conversation, he might pace himself better, not get bent, give the happy a warmer, more inviting atmosphere, and maybe the next dame to stick her nose in would be tempted to stay. Plus, if I charm him enough, and I am nothing if not charming when I pile it on, he might even spring for a drink from me, or 2 or 3, so the bar gets more profit without adding up to my tab. If I also cheer him up, well, that's a bonus for my mood as well. So I put on a show, stare at my crossword, give a long sigh, Tap my pencil against my near-empty glass in frustration. He doesn't look. I sigh louder. Slap a hand on the bar, drop the puzzle, take a slow, very small sip of the faux crow. He's staring at the bottle and the shelves behind the bar, or maybe the flickering television, which is showing an infomercial with the sound mercifully off and a picture so sketchy it might as well be an old black and white set. Whatever funk he's in, it is deep. Hey, pal, I say. He gulps the rest of his drink, waves at Gracie for another. After she delivers the goods and takes off again, I lean over the empty bar stool. Just a suggestion, pal. From one weary night tippler to another, seeing as you look all educated and stuff, I figure you might not mind some well-intentioned advice. He blinks, turns toward me. See, Gracie doesn't like being treated like a servant. She is a consummate professional and knows when and how best to approach when you are in need. You do not wish to annoy her. Do I know you? The dork lifts his refreshed glass, but only takes a sip, so I figure my plan is working. I held out my left hand, the one not clutching the pencil. Larry Rosen. Lucky Larry, though not so much lately, or Larry the Lump, but I'm getting more exercise, dropped 5 pounds last week. The babes have noticed, well, a couple anyway. Welcome to the Tenderloin Stand, named for when the bulls made enough dough onto the table to... Wait, you know me? I point to the shiny white exhibition day badge dangling from his breast pocket. Stanley Coogan, right? Stan removes the tag, stuffs it in a side pocket. What is it you want? Some help. I point to my puzzle, skim the clues until one catches my eye. 7 letters. Tiny level scores. Oh, you're confusing me with somebody else. I owe you nothing. No, it's a clue in my puzzle. 7 letters long. Time to level scores. Any ideas? He takes another sip of whiskey, closes his eye. It's a pun. That's 7 letters, okay. Start filling in the blank spaces. Thanks. No, I mean the answer. It's evening. Or even-ing. A pun. Oh, yeah. That's what I thought you meant. He peers at the crossword. I shift my hand to block his view. You're almost done? He says. I shove the paper in my back pocket. Looks like you've got a bad case of the mope, Stan, and I'd rather listen to someone else's beefs than my own. So what's up? It's complicated, he says. I've got all night, I say. Stan takes another sip of whiskey. If you listen as good as you talk. Okay. Remember that news story in July about the extraterrestrial technosignatures indicating intelligent alien life? Well, to be on the up and up, some days I can't remember what I had for breakfast. If a story's not on a sports page, sometimes even if it is, I don't go out of my way to lock down the dope. Plus, he's spewing way too many syllables. But I'm trying to be affable, like I said, so I nod and smile. He goes on about how scientists are examining these weird signals from space, see if there's signs of intelligent life, and if so, what they mean. On the hush, for some international protocols. The whole not understanding messages gimmick sounds like every relationship I've ever had with Jane. So I sort of get it. Stan spews that background like he's lecturing a Babel, which, yeah, he kind of is. Turns out he's a graduate student at Columbia University, studying particle physics, working on his doctorate. His dream is to make a major breakthrough, get a concept named after him, like, the Cooganine paradigm, he says, whatever paradigms means. That afternoon, he'd been at the tech show at the Javits Center on a panel on alien technology set up by Columbia. Got the sweats when somebody said the UN was going to announce the message's meaning on Monday. The aliens are smart enough to communicate over trillions of light years. Share those smarts through some kind of Encyclopedia Galactica. There'd be nothing left to discover, which makes him too despondent to hang on around with his fellows. So he stumbles into the happy on his own. I'll end up like Lisa Meitner and Percy Julian, he says. Who? I ask. My point exactly. Now, I don't understand a tenth of this Palooka story, but after he buys a round for us both, I figure he's earned a piece of my wisdom. Now, let me get this straight. You want to make a famous discovery, but everything will be static because it'll already be known. Stan grimaced. Yeah, I know, it's selfish. That depresses me almost as much as my meaningless future. But why would they even care, I say? Wouldn't they just take over, assuming we even have anything they want? Sharing knowledge is only right, he says. Someone needs something, you've got what they need, you share, help them out, bring them up to your level, work together. I wouldn't bet on that. Most people, they've got an edge, they use it, and I let the thought trail off, mulling over my own words as I sip my fresh faux crow. Stan also goes silent, but his drinking's slowed as well. I was doing my job. Wrapped up in my own thoughts, something I rarely am, not until I hear Gracie's hissed warning do I look up, and then it's too late. The babe stands inside the Happy Harpy, one of his goons, Tiger Tommy, at his side, staring right at me. Now, the babe does not look like any newborn I ever seen, or any hot doll either. In fact, it looks as if he could take down half a dozen street punks on his own, and still he is puny standing next to Tiger Tommy. Excuse me, Stan, I say. Gotta see a man about a dog. I start to slide off my bar stool, and sure enough, a second goon, who I recognize as the Roach, bigger and tougher than Tiger, if that were possible, is blocking the back door. I stay seated. Babe's not going to start anything in the Harpy because he knows Gracie, they got some history, but she won't stop him taking us out for a little dispute either. I give my biggest, phoniest smile and point to my new pal, Stan, not to get Stan in trouble, but to set the groundwork for an idea I just had, and also make sure Tiger Tommy and the Roach see that there's at least one witness. Hey, babe, I was just going to call you. Sure you were. Babe's voice sounded like a bulldozer backing up. You got my dough? Got something better. Meet my new buddy, Stan. Stan gives me a what the hell side eye. I widen my smile to show he's got nothing to worry about. But my hands are shaking a bit, so I'm not sure the message is getting through. Stan has my dough? Something better, like I said. He's a doctor, maybe, fixes broken ribs and fingers. I'm not a doctor yet, Stan says, and not a medical one. That's too bad for you, Lump. Keep drinking, Lump's new friend. I gotta talk to your pal. Outside. Wait, let me tell you my idea. Our idea. Stan flinches as if dodging a poison dart. Now, this guy really knows his onions. The Roach closes in, places a thick paw on my shoulder, cutting off circulation. I feel myself lifted off the bar stool. I quickly repeat Stan's story, but simpler so the babe can understand. Plus, I can't remember it all. About space people contacting Earth. We don't know why, but we will in 6 days. Nobody knows yet what it is, or if they do, they're not talking. So, it's open to betting. What I don't say, because the babe already knows, is that his pool of regular bettors has been shrinking ever since the feds made sports gambling illegal. And he needs a new angle. That's total whack, the babe says. Who the hell would bet on what little green men do? I might. All of us, even Stan, who's been trying to figure out a way out of this kerfluffle, turned to the woman behind the bar. When did you ever bet anything, Gracie? Yeah, sport betting's a flat tire. Politics just as boring. But I see people being keen on this alien stuff. Oh, you know who'd really go for it? Those nerds playing with their tablets over there. They were at that tech show this afternoon, staying in town for the comic book thing this weekend. Harpy's a friendlier hangout than their hotel at the block, you know the dump. I'd bet, though I won't, that they'd put down cash up front, that they'd be so excited to bet on space people, they probably won't care if they win or lose. One of them's such a self-centered dork, he might bet on losing tickets just to be different. Now, those were the most words I'd ever heard come out of Gracie's mouth at one time. I see the same impression on Babe's face, and I'm thinking, I might get out of this mess in one piece this time anyway, after all. Babe turns to Stan, nailing the poor sap with narrowed eyes. You wouldn't happen to have any inside dope on this space message thing, would you, kid? Stan shakes his head. There are different groups studying it. Top secret. There are leaks, but they're contradictory. No one knows for sure.
What do you think?
Well, two options. Either civilizations that sent the message wishes to help us reach their advanced level, or they want to take over the world and exploit the resources. First option, as I was telling Larry here, ends my career before it begins. The second, well, that would probably be an end to my future too. Everyone's really.
Let's you and me talk to those squares, see which of those outcomes they'd bet on.
Stan gives me a nervous glance, but I nod, force another smile, so he knows everything's Jake. For him, at least.
Excuse me, boys,
The babe says, nearing their table. One gamer, a bony duck wearing a pair of cheaters with frames so thick that you can hardly see the lenses, raises a hand to stop him. A little busy here, mister, he says. Then his eyes goes wide. Oh my God, it's you. Now, the babe is pretty famous in certain circles in Midtown Manhattan, but how do these tourists finger him? Speaker adjusts his cheaters and waves at his friends. Guys, it's him! Points past the babe. Who? One mutters. Stanley Coogan, from that panel on Alien Feud Artifacts. All four goggle at my new bestie. This night is just full of surprises.